Hello everybody, my name is Dimitri with Serg Supply, and today we're going to dig into some plumbing. Let's dive right in.
Audio Jungle.
As we dive into this plumbing video, it is fitting that probably most of my viewers are sitting on a toilet right now. So as you gaze upon me on your porcelain throne, I want to quickly say if you're thinking about placing an order for any of our products, use code YT25 at checkout for a little thank you, and also consider joining our Facebook community group. We'd love to interact with you guys and see how you're doing your plumbing. So let's dig back in. Before I get too in the weeds on everything we're doing here, let me outline what this video is about. Now, viewer warning, there's going to be a lot of talking in this video. I'm going to talk through every single thing I'm doing, so I won't be offended if you change that speed to 1.5 or 2, but I will find you. Number two, everything that I'm using will be linked below in the description, so if you want to make a system like this for your van, feel free. You can copy everything. I'm spilling all the industry secrets here. And number three, this is just a water system that's working for our show van. It might not work for you and what you need to do, so take this with a grain of salt. Let's move right ahead. I'm standing in front of our shop van here, and as you can see, everything's already in. If you're asking where the water tank is, well, it's not inside that compartment. Let me explain why. Number one, we're going to do the undermount tank. We have a spare tire carrier that's holding our spare, so we do not need the spare tire underneath. So we went to Northwest Conversions. That's the tank we use for nearly every single build. We're putting it underneath the van. This is a good fit for us because we're not really ever going to be in sub-zero temperature. If we do, it'll be kind of rare. We don't think we're going to frequently be in extremely cold temperatures. I'm not worried about winterizing these water lines, but I will note that you can still winterize this water system. You can put a heated pad on your undermount water tank. You can thermally insulate all of the water lines running underneath. We're not going to do it, but you certainly can. If you're going to be in an area that's cold year-round or cold for a lot of the year, the van's going to be parked outside in sub-zero temp, and you don't want to winterize every time, you may want to look into a over-the-wheel well water tank. If you're curious why we don't really do those, it's two reasons. Number one, you usually have to make a hole in the side of the van to fill it. Although the system that I'm designing here on the video today, that I'm very excited about, works with that, so you don't need to make a hole in the side of your van. And number two, if you have water leaks, which you shouldn't, but if you do, it's kind of a nightmare inside the van because it just goes all over the floor and your cabinets might swell and whatnot. So that's why we're doing it. That's what we're doing. If you're curious what we're powering here, it's just going to be fresh water that's going to go to our sink up in the front, and then we will have a quick attach for a Julka heated shower in the back. We're doing a portable outside shower. Those are our only two freshwater attachment points. I'll show you kind of what we're doing under the sink as well, but we are not featuring hot water in this build. So just in case you're curious, no hot water heater aside from the propane Julka in the back, and we're just keeping it real simple. Let's move on ahead to the assembly. We're going to start from the very beginning with the fill for a freshwater tank. Filling a freshwater tank underneath the van can suck really bad, and there's a lot of parts involved in this, and they're kind of a nightmare to source, but we've done this enough times that we have what we call like the perfect assembly for this, although critics out there might have different opinions on that. So the first piece of this puzzle is this guy here. It's a 1.5-inch NPT to 3/4-inch NPT fitting. This goes onto the tank itself. The next part is this braided stainless steel hose. It's got that 3/4 NPT on both sides. Super convenient. The next piece of the puzzle is this check valve. Let's see if I can get a closer shot of this. Let me find the label. Bam, it's 3/4-inch NPT, and it's got, is this upside down? It is. It has a very nifty little, come on baby, there you go. It's got a label that shows direction water flow. If you look inside here, there is a spring-loaded valve where water pressure coming from this side will let water pass through, but anything going back the other way, it'll stop it. Very important. The next piece is a 3/4-inch NPT fitting that goes down to a 3/4 GHT. If you're curious, NPT is National Pipe Thread, I believe. Don't quote me on that. GHT is just garden hose thread. And this guy right here is our garden hose fitting. The way we're filling this water tank is using your basic garden hose. There's nothing really crazy about it. There's a male end that quick attaches into this, and it will blast water up the pipe through that check valve so that water doesn't leak back out when you disconnect it. It'll fill up the water tank, and we're good to go. The next important part to this puzzle is not the fresh water in, but the dirty water out. So for every one of our water tanks, fresh and gray, we want some way to flush it. And the best way I found is to blast water in from the fresh water and have some kind of a valve dump and drain all the dirty water. This is especially important before we use this because we're going to drill holes in this tank and all of that residue is going to go in the water, and you don't want that to go into your water pump and mess things up downstream. So what I'm doing for that is this guy here. It is a 1.5-inch NPT fitting to a female 1.5-inch NPT. And this allows me, let me unscrew this, to put this behemoth here. This is just a gate valve or a ball valve, I think it's called. It threads right in. I'm not going to make it permanently mount just yet. But the idea is that when I'm blasting water into the tank, I can just open this valve. It's actually already open, or close it when I'm not using it. And it'll dump all that water out and let me kind of recirculate nasty water from the tank. And we found a clever way to mount this so that it clears and it looks beautiful. It's going to be pointed away so this will be the front of the vehicle. This way debris doesn't go back up in here and ruin this valve. But a few quick notes here before I start assembling everything is try to use like BPA-free, stainless, food-safe stuff when you're plumbing fresh water. You don't want any rusty parts here, so stay away from, I think like general PVC isn't the best. Again, it should be BPA-free at least. We're going to be using this for a freshwater filter for drinking water as well, so it's really important for me to use clean stuff here. So let's crack open this water tank and show you what it looks like. All right. Let's take a glance at this behemoth here. I think this might be the easiest way. There we go. Come on. There she is. Okay, let me flip this around, show you guys what we're cooking with here. There she is. This is a spare tire tank, if you don't already know, for the Mercedes Sprinter, although this they do make one for the Ford Transit too, so for you Transit guys out there, this will work. I'm going to show you the bottom here. This gets held up by that factory cage that holds the spare tire. It's really quite neat. They do include with every tank these plugs for any parts that you need to cover up. And if you're curious which side is the front, which is the back, the front has all of these ports here. So this right here is going, let me pick it up for you a little bit. This right here is front driver side. So this will be our fresh water in because we want it to fill from on top. And then this big guy down here will be our dump valve for all the dirty water coming out. And then our fresh water out is going to be this guy here that's already pre-drilled. I'll show you how we put all that together in a little bit. But I'm going to set this guy up here. I'll put you guys actually on top of the tank. We're going to build the system together. Basic tools here are going to be an adjustable wrench. I really like to use these instead of 2 adjustable wrenches because I don't have to worry about them rotating and falling off. And this right here may be the most important piece of what I'm using today. I might be flipped for you guys. This is called monster tape. It's not normal plumbing tape. Another builder put me onto this and we have not used anything since. This stuff is absolutely amazing. We never have leaks with this, but we always have leaks with the white tape. So don't use anything but monster tape. If you have the luxury of preparation, it's called Blue Monster. You can find it basically anywhere. This is the best stuff. So right out the gate, we're going to start with the part that's closest to the water tank, which will be this stainless steel 1.5 NPT to 3/4 NPT fitting. Generally, when you put this on, this is the way I do it. I'm not a plumber, so take what you see with a grain of salt. I'm not an expert in this. I do it a lot. It works for me. Might not work for you, but generally I go clockwise, so I'll just hold it with my thumb or wrap it around once, and I start at the end where I don't really think the thread's going to go all the way down there because that's kind of the ugly side here. And then I'm going to wrap around it. I try to keep the thread kind of light towards the front, maybe 2 wraps there, and then I do 3 to 4 on the center and back. On the parts that go metal to metal or fitting to fitting, I can get away with less tape, but for the parts that go into the water tank, I always use more. I find more often than not, the thread goes in without too much resistance and it bottoms out, and then I have to take it off, clean the whole thing out, add more tape. So more is better when you're going into the tanks, but you got to be super careful because the stuff can crack. So that's done. The next piece is going to be our flexible hose attachment here. Bam, bam. Very convenient. Again, I'm not going to go so crazy on this one. The reason I'm going clockwise, by the way, if you're curious, if you go counterclockwise, when you screw this in, you're going to be undoing some of the actual monster tape. But if you go clockwise with it, when you thread it on, you're going with the direction of the tape, and it holds all the better. This here, I've been told, does not need tape because of the type of head it is. It seats into this perfectly, and the tape might actually get in there and obstruct that, so we generally don't leave that with any tape on it. I'm not tightening any of these down now, but I'm going to move on to the back end here. The next piece of this puzzle is going to be our valve. It's just a spring valve. I think I don't know if it's technically, it is a check valve of types, but I don't know the exact type. It's just a spring. It'll be linked down below if you want to use the same one. Fantastic. Gotta get rid of this loose nonsense. There we go. Okay, very important here. Check the direction. Again, I'm going to put this up close so you guys can see it. There is an arrow that shows water flow direction, and you want that arrow to point into the fitting that we just did that goes into the tank. So I'm going to double check that that's going the right way. Awesome. I'm going to thread it on. We'll tighten it later. Don't worry about it right now. And I think the last thing we need to tape up on this side is going to be this adapter. Again, I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this is 3/4 NPT to 3/4 GHT. That is National Pipe Thread to Garden Hose thread. If you're not going to use a garden hose attachment, disregard this part because this may not work for you. Sorry, I keep pulling you out of frame here. I need to be showing you my work. Come on. There we go. Oh, come on. There we go. All right, you know what? Sometimes you just have to take an L, start over. I have taken an L today. Josh, feel free to add some Mickey Mouse music to the background, Looney Tunes or something. Okay. Great. Awesome. I'm happy with that. Garden hose adapter on one end here. Fantastic. Fantastisch is German for just mediocre. And thread this on here. Great. I'm very happy with this assembly. It is ready to be tightened down, so I'm going to go ahead and crank this together. I'll just do one on the video, but I won't bore you with making you watch me crank all these down. But I'm going to need a bigger wrench. Actually, I'll go ahead and get that vise, tighten these down, circle back to you guys after. There she is, folks. We've got 2 feet of freedom here. It's tightened down. I'll quickly get this other side put together. This is our drain. This is, again, all 1.5 inch NPT. It's just, oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Talk about incompetence. This is just a drain valve so that we can dump all the dirty water out of our tank. Wow, this is going, oh, I see. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there are some burrs on here that I need to quickly file down because they're not letting this thing thread. But anyway, I'll get this thing put together and we'll show you where we're going to make holes in this tank. Talk about an amateur move here. I put this on backwards, so don't do this, what I just did in the last clip. You want to undo this completely. Oh my God. There we go. And flip it around. So the way it should be is this ball valve will go, there we go. Ball valve will go into the pipe, pipe goes into the tank. So let's go get some tape back on here and do it the right way, and then we'll circle back. Here we are on the side of the tank. This is the driver's side front. We're going to drill out this hole here for fresh water in, and this hole here for dirty water out. And this hole's already drilled. This is where all of our fresh water goes out to where we're feeding it. So first thing you want to do is grab something like this, or scissors or pliers, and break off the tip here. It's annoying, it gets in the way. Next thing you do is grab a hole saw that is smaller than this opening. You do not want to chew up the thread here as you make the hole. And then we're going to drill out both of these guys and start fitting some pipes. All right, got to be very delicate here with this part. Move some of this stuff out the way. This is our fresh water up top. Let me get you guys a better angle here. Fresh water up top. Just want to make sure it threads in nicely, which is sometimes the hardest part. If you put the tank down vertically, oh, there we go. It helps. I'm just doing it horizontally for the camera angles. And I got the nice, perfect amount of tape here because I'm feeling some tension already. What we really don't want to do is put not enough tape, feel not enough tension, and screw this in until this bottoms out and it rips the thread apart. This right here, doing quite well. So I think that's just fine. Let's get the bottom in now. Okay. If you're copying the setup I have, you really don't want to do this under the van because that cage will really suck to work with. Come on, baby. There we go. All right, that's good. Getting some nice tension. I don't want to do another full rotation, but I want to end it here. So this right here at a downward angle is exactly how it's going to sit, and that cage will give you enough room to open this valve when you need to, close it when you don't. This is our freshwater out. This is a simple valve and it goes to a Sharkbite style fitting here. I'll explain this in just a minute, but this is the single most important part to put extra monster tape on, because this is the spot where we always, if we ever see leaks, it's always right here. I think that's the lowest point. It's got the most pressure going to it, and the opening is smaller than all the others, so it just makes all your problems worse. So put a bunch of monster tape on here. I did 5 or 6 wraps. If you do not instantly feel tension when you're screwing this in, like it's pretty hardcore, then stop, go back, take it off, add more tape. You really do not want leaks here. I could probably do one more spin, but I'll tell you the grave fear here of this is if you over tighten this and you bottom out the thread and you keep cranking it, you're gonna crack this fitting. This is exactly where I want it. Sorry for the focus, guys. Let me get that back on there. This way, underneath the van, I can isolate this tank if I need to repair something upstream. I just turn that valve and I'm good to go. Again, everything's upside down, so think of it as if you're laying under the van. You want to be able to isolate this water line so you can work on it. We do valves everywhere, very aggressive valves. Let's talk a little bit about fittings and then we'll move right along to mounting. Okay, when it comes to fittings, you've got 2 main routes here. Number 1 is your standard barbed PEX fitting. Number 2 are your Sharkbites. This is not Sharkbite brand. They usually have some stainless collets here or aluminum or something. That's their brand thing. They're extremely expensive. These are pricier. However, I think they're much better. I'll explain why. If you're going to do these guys, it is an absolute necessity that you have one of these tools. This is a crimper for those PEX clamps, which look like this. Sorry, I'm very shaky. There we go. So the idea behind this is you put your PEX line over your barbed fitting. Oh my gosh, the fight. And then you slide this clamp over. And I'm not going to crimp it right now because you can't take this off once this is on. I mean, you technically can, but it's going to involve a flathead screwdriver, a side cutter, or some other tools and quite a bit of your patience and time, whereas Sharkbite style fittings are really cool. You push this pipe in. Well, here we go. Awesome. And it can rotate freely. It's watertight. It won't leak. And most importantly, you can release it. There is a tool. It's a U-shape. You slide it over. You compress that little lip that's sticking out there, and it pops your pipe right out. And now you can start from scratch. So non-reusable, much cheaper, much more affordable, more expensive, but reusable, way more serviceable. I'll let you guys decide which route you do. I'm going to do a combination of both of these for this van. But as you saw, I put the Sharkbite on there. All I have left to do on the bottom is to tee it out. So I actually think we're ready to mount the tank. I'm going to take you guys to the van and show you how I'm doing that. Here we are at the back of the van. The only tools you're going to need are a flathead screwdriver. So you can take these little covers right off. There's one. There is, oh, I thought I'd be slick like the first one. There's 2. And then this is a 3/4 inch socket. You can use the spare tire tool underneath the seat if you don't have one. Just unscrew these. But you don't want to go all the way because if you drop the thread out, it's going to be really bad. So I'm just going so I don't have a lot of fight to it. And let me crawl under with you real quick and show you what we're lowering here. Oh, excuse me. There we go. You see these hooks right here? Let me put you on a bipod so you can see what I'm talking about. There's our spare tire. Here are the hooks in question. Put the focus on the hook. Voila. Okay. So the idea is now with this lowered, you'll be able to lift the cage, move the hook out of the way, and now the whole spare tire cage drops. So, man, this thing's going to be heavy. I'm going to move this. I'm going to move you guys out of the way and drop the tire real quick. Okay. Here we go. That one's good. That one's good. And now run for your life. It wasn't so bad, but this thing is pretty heavy. There we go. Spare tire is free. And let's get the water tank in here now. Here's how we do this. Number one, make sure this tail is underneath the cage. This part's a little tricky. I want to get this under. There we go. Before we push it back. That. Come on, baby. Bear with me, folks. This part's always a bit of a process. There we go. Okay, so the handle got under. Now I can turn that down. It's out of the way. Hope your focus looks fine. There we go. And now we're going to catch these same hooks. I held up our spare. And there you are, ladies and gentlemen. You can move this back where you want it. I do want it to point down a little bit. The main thing is I don't want it to point down lower than, let's say, our differential or our struts are. So you can honestly keep it where you need it. This is going to be just fine for me. And then I will close this valve so that when I fill it up, I don't lose all my water here. So let's go up top. Let's tighten this thing down, and then we can start working on some plumbing. Speaking of plumbing, if you're curious what we did on the inside, here it is. This is just a water pump. There's a little filter here, or what would you call this? A 50 mesh filter. Water pump and accumulator. I have not used this brand before. We usually use SureFlow, but this came recommended to us, so I'm going to give it a shot. And then what we have cooking up top here, and it's not quite ready, is this. So there we go. I've got my hot water out to my sink, my cold water out to my sink. They are coming from the same source. And then this is going to be for our fresh drinking water. This goes into a carbon filter for drinking water. Again, we're not doing hot water, so this is my way of teeing out to all three, I guess, water sources up top. And all I have left to do is run water lines underneath the van, bypassing all the important parts. Don't go near the exhaust. Don't do anything crazy like that. And then I'll put it up here. One thing I'm very redundant about is valves, valves, valves. Put valves everywhere. You want to be able to isolate this from inside and outside the van in case you have leaks. And the only thing left really is to fill the water tank and basically just make sure it doesn't leak. One thing I forgot to note, however, is on top of the tank, there's already a hole. It's a 1/2 inch NPT. We usually put an elbow there that just points backwards. This is your bleed or your overflow hole. You don't want to cap it off with those plugs, because if you start to fill the water tank, you're going to pressurize the air inside and it's not going to be good. And that valve is not going to let that air escape anywhere. So don't do that. Leave that hole open, put 90 on there so dirt, debris doesn't fall in. That's my recommendation for you. And that basically sums it up. There it is, folks. That is your quick fill fresh water tank for underneath the vehicle. Again, everything we use is going to be in the description below. So if you want to build the system yourself, please feel free. I've exposed all of our secrets to you guys, and I will continue to do so long as they're helpful. If you have comments, recommendations, please leave them below. And if you guys are thinking about ordering and supporting our business, please use that code YT25 at our site at checkout. Get a little bit of discounts our way, saying thank you. And also join our Facebook group. We'd love to interact with you guys. As always, appreciate you watching this to the end of the video. Happy building.